Welcome everybody to our show. This is Custom Fab Garage on our channel Octane TV on YouTube. Make sure you go down below and hit that subscribe button, and on top of that, make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you can get all the new content that comes out weekly and even every day. We're going to be doing this 2021 Jeep Gladiator. We're going to be doing the front speakers, so we're going to be removing these panels up here. You got your passenger side, you got your driver's side. So the way we're going to do this is use our plastic pry tool, and we're going to pry up on this to get these opened. Okay, so I changed plastic pry tools to the one that is angled versus straight, so you can just pry up and then this thing will come up. And you got to be real careful, because if not, you'll break these, so you have to be super careful when you pull up. Here's what the back of the grill looks like. There's the top. The way it sits in there is like this, and then you have 4 clips. And then there's the magical 3.5 underneath it. We're going to use a stubby screwdriver for both of these, or you can use a right angle screwdriver, whichever which. But the stubby actually fits. It's a little close to the windshield, but it'll get them out. So this is the stock speaker. We unplugged it from the plug right here. And this is an 8-ohm speaker. Obviously you can tell it's high quality, so lovely thing that it is. Here's the speakers. We're going to be using the DSC 350 kicker, 3.5 inch. The reason why we like these is because they're flat across the top, and the magnet isn't massive to where it won't fit down in there. And then you got your positive and negative terminals. These are really nice little 3.5s. They even come with speaker wire, which we're going to use to connect into the factory terminals. So this is the speakers we're going to be using in here. And here's the speaker wire that they give us with your positive and negative on one end. And we T-tapped our red spades into here. And then we have our red T-taps into here. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the terminal over, the part with the plug on the top. We're going to use this part left hand side as our positive on both sides, so it's in polarity, and then connect these into our T-taps so that we can just plug our speaker in. And here's our T-taps plugged in. Positive is on this side, negative, as you can see, is on this side. Get our negative stripe right there. And you never want to cut these plugs off, because then you can never put the speaker back into factory if you ever want to trade it in. So that's why we use T-taps, because they're 100% reversible. And then down here, we have our positive and negative ends. We're going to plug into the speaker. We've got our positive connected to our positive terminal, negative connected to our negative. The smaller one is always going to be your negative. The bigger one's always going to be your positive, especially since they have the red on here. And then we're just going to put the speaker down in here and screw it down. Now we've got the speaker in here. We're going to put our screws down, and then we'll put our cap over the top of it. So we have the speaker screwed down. We're going to put the grill on top. So this piece is going to go over here. And honestly, the way this looks to me is, with this being so high, you can actually probably fit a little bigger 3.5 in there with a bigger tweeter in there if you wanted. But these fit really good. We definitely know that they will fit. Everything snaps down. But with this being a 4-ohm speaker handling more power, it's going to put out twice as much power instead of an 8-ohm. And it's going to be able to handle that power and have better clarity than the stock, in my opinion, junk 3.5. So these are going to sound remarkably clear, better, louder, everything across the board. Now, if it was a 6.5, it'd be a totally different story, but the 3.5, I mean, it'll do its job. It's going to repeat the same step on the driver's side. Here's the new one installed on the driver's side. Next, we're going to be taking out these rear speakers. So we're going to be taking out all 4 of these on each side with these Allen keys. We're going to be removing these plates on each side, to get to these speakers. So we're going to be using a 5 Allen key. I'm going to be using this T-handle, just makes it easier. And then that's going to fit right up in there to take everything out. Okay, so we have, this is what it looks like underneath. We have our 3.5 here, which we're going to replace out. And then I think this is a passive little driver that basically runs to this port tube and produces all the bass, kind of like a little enclosure for a sub. So we'll test these, make sure these are little mini subs. And then this is the 3.5 that we're going to replace with the kickers. These are a T20, so we're going to use the T20 and take these down. With the same speakers that came out of the front, exactly the same, 8 ohm, everything, same connector. So we're going to do the same thing with the same connector. We're going to go to the top side where the push tab is. So basically the part where you push down what has this green line on it right here, we're going to use that as our top, and we're going to use our left hand as our positive. When you're going to put these speakers in, you'll want to pull this foam piece out, and these things are very, very snug when you get them in there. See how close they are? It's because it's this plastic piece is kind of like sitting around it. So when you bolt them up, they should pull themselves up into place. These are the speakers we're going to be using for the rear. Much different than the factory DSC 350s. That's what we're going to be using for the rear speakers from Kicker. Here's the difference of size comparable to stock, and then here is your back side. Massive difference. This also has a built-in tweeter, whereas this is not. This is also 8 ohm, this is also 4 ohm. Alright, we have everything wired up. Your larger one goes to your positive, which is red. Your smaller one goes to your negative. We've got our spades on the end that are made to go into our red T-taps. Here, we're going to go attach those to the wires, and then we're going to attach the speakers and mount them up. Everything is connected here with our T-taps into our plug. You never want to cut those off. We've got it connected into our speaker. Now we're going to mount it up here. We have this mounted up into here, and you need to put this foam back in, and this is all mounted up in. We're going to try to test it out, make sure everything sounds good. This is the driver's side. All right, we've got this one installed. That's what it looks like factory. Well, besides this kicker is installed right here. And then here's what it looks like after we put the aftermarket ones there and the kicker one there. And that's what it looks like with the 4s. So these are the rear soundbar speakers as well. These are the ones we're going to be replacing with is the 4s. These are the stocks. So we're going to make them fit in there. Obviously there's a large difference in magnet size, impedance, everything else. So should sound pretty good. We're going to be doing a review on this powered sub. Kind of show you some pictures of the inputs and the power and everything. The build quality on it looks really nice. We'll give the dimensions. It's very heavy. And it's small, so it'll fit in a lot of different places. Like this is the palm of my hand. And it gives you an amp kit. We already started installing the power wire, but the wire itself definitely is not very desirable. It's very small. I would say it's more like 10 gauge than 8 gauge, maybe even higher. But for this little thing, it's not going to be a big issue. I wouldn't use this on anything else, but that's the wiring that they give you for it, which it comes with it, which is pretty nice for the price. But we're going to hook it up, see how it sounds, and see if it's worth the money. So we'll test it out and see what she does. So Josh is over here running the power wire. We're gonna run an amp on this 2021 Gladiator. He is actually connecting into this lug right here, as you can see, because it's a free lug. We can use that to connect it. He's looming all the wires, zip tying everything. We ended up running through this terminal right here. That way you can just run it right through. Power wires all ran through here. We're actually gonna get the remote wire from inside here. What we're going to do is we're going to remove this panel here. We're going to pop this up, pop this out, and then we're going to tap into here to get our remote wire. As you can see clear over there where I'm aiming this, that is the speaker terminal right there. I'm going to tap into that speaker terminal right down there at the bottom where I'm aiming this light. That is actually where I'm going to run the high to low off of and run the wiring all the way across. That way we have our high to low there, our remote wire here, and then our power wire is going to be coming out down here. So we'll connect all those together and run them to the back. So we pulled this whole piece off. It just unsnaps out. We used our yellow pry tool to get behind there. Since this one is actually like brand spanking new, it was really tough to get out. Now we're going to pull behind here, and those two magical wires right down there are what we need for our remote wire. Okay, so we've unplugged this. This basically just unsnaps out. And there's one screw at the top, which is right here, that you'll take off, which is in here. And then here's your wires right here in this pink with yellow, which is weird that Chrysler uses this on every freaking vehicle, including Rams, Jeeps, everything. This pink with yellow is what your ignition is. So we're going to use that. We're going to click T-tap that, and we're going to make that a remote wire. And then we're going to connect that over there with those two wires down there from the speaker. We're going to run all those wires over here. So that will be for our high to low, and then this will be for our remote wire. Okay, some of the things that we've noticed. You have your ground, your remote. This is your positive 12 volts, 25 amp fuse. It's a low level input. In case if you want to run like a high to low, you can run that in there. Or if you're running an aftermarket head unit, run that. You have your high inputs. I'm going to try these first, see how they sound. If they're terrible, I'll switch over to an actual nicer high to low, see how these actually work. You have a remote control that goes to the phone cord that goes to the, it actually has a turn dial knob for the remote bass. You have your gain, bass boost, low pass, which is normal and normal amplifiers. You have your auto power on, which is really nice. So if you connect these level inputs in, it will do signal sensing to where you don't need the remote wire, which makes it nice on vehicles. It makes it hard to have ignition. You have your phase, your power on, and protect. So we're gonna try this, test it, see how it sounds with these. And we're not gonna hook up the remote wire on this one. We're gonna just see how the signal sensing works and see how it sounds. Kind of give you guys a kind of like a review of what this thing actually does, comparable to what, you know, people say online. All right, we have this hooked up. We grounded everything to over here. We have our remote hooked up, our line level in. We ended up using the line level in and not using a low level input here or using a line level to low level input. We just used the one that was factory. We used our ground and our power. Even though we ran ignition, we didn't have to because it has signal sensing down here, which we have clicked on. And this thing sounds absolutely amazing down here. So I am very, 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 very impressed. This is actually a really good sub for a cheap price that, you know, it's not going to boom the block or anything, but man, it really produces a lot of bass. It produces so much bass in this Jeep, we can actually hear it outside of the Jeep. So I'm actually thoroughly impressed with the quality of this, and it sounds good. It hits all musical notes really well. I mean, if you're a hardcore rap guy and you want to have 215s in the trunk, this is not going to work for you, but for everything else, it should work really, really, really well.